How Jose Mourinho exploited Arteta'S midfield, Tottenham 2, Arsenal 0 a tactical analysis. For cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to www.jerseyfever.com where they have the new season's jerseys available from just $25. A link will be left in the description, and if you use the coupon code ATLANTISFOOTBALL, you'll get 5% off. So going into the game, Mourinho lined up his side in a 4-2-1-3 shape with Lloris in goal, Dyer and Alderweireld at centre-back, Reguilon and Aurier the full-backs, Højbjerg and Sissoko playing as a midfield double pivot with Lo Celso in front of them, and Son and Bergwijn in possession, playing either side of false 9 Harry Kane. Arteta used a 5-2-3 shape with Leno in goal, a back three of Holding, Gabriel and Tierney, Saka and Bellerin were the wing-backs, Partey and Xhaka were the midfield double pivot with Aubameyang starting from the left, Willian on the right and Lacazette playing as a false 9. From the start of the game, we saw that Mourinho's side were defending in a 4-4-2 shape with Kane and Lo Celso the front two, allowing the Arsenal centre-backs to have the ball until they moved into the middle third, and acting as a shield, cutting off the passing lanes into Xhaka and Partey in behind them. Arteta's system in possession resembled that of an orthodox 4-2-3-1, as when they had the ball, Tierney played as an orthodox left back pushing up the pitch, with Bellerin also doing so on the right side. Saka was advanced high up the pitch, playing more as a left winger than as a left wing back. Aubameyang was also playing a lot more central than he usually does, floating into a centre forward position as Lacazette played as a false 9, dropping off significantly, trying to find space in behind Tottenham's midfield double pivot. Because Kane and Lo Celso were very disciplined when it came to cutting off passes into the midfield too, one of Xhaka or Partey would pull wide into a deeper position, creating a temporary back three, giving Arsenal a wider base to circulate the ball around Kane and Lo Celso. Mourinho's side sat deep and compact, and when Arsenal did manage to move the ball into the middle third, the midfield sat incredibly deep with Højbjerg and Sissoko practically on top of the two centre-backs, meaning that there was no space in behind the midfield for Lacazette or Saka to drop into. This did allow Arsenal to move the ball into the final third frequently, but they did struggle to make headway into the box, as Tottenham dropped everyone behind the ball, creating a wall of 10 for Arsenal to try to play through. During Tottenham's build-up, we saw Højbjerg would drop back into the back line as the centre-backs would split, allowing the full-backs to advance up the pitch. Arsenal were looking to press high up with the front player pressing the centre-backs, however the rest of the Arsenal side were far too deep to make the press effective, allowing Tottenham to work the ball out of the defensive third without much struggle. When Tottenham had established possession, we saw their system morph into a 3-5-2 shape, as Højbjerg, Sissoko and Lo Celso all sat deep, allowing Tottenham to circulate possession as the full-backs pushed up aggressively down the flank, which subsequently allowed Son and Bergwijn to move inside. We saw that Tottenham's front three were playing as a narrow triangle, with Kane and Son often dropping between the lines of the Arsenal system in behind Xhaka and Partey, as Bergwijn looked to push up and make runs in behind the Arsenal back line. Before I get into the analysis of Son's goal, make sure that if you enjoy the content, you subscribe to the channel, give the video a like and share it if possible. I've also got some videos linked in the description below for you to watch as well, and make sure you follow me on my social media accounts for more content. Tottenham did get the breakthrough, and predictably it came from a counter-attack. The ball got headed on to Harry Kane around the edge of the centre circle. The first error is that Gabriel should be sticking tight to Harry Kane and not allowing him to get the ball under control. He's already moved out of the back line but gets caught in two minds and does neither hold his position or pressurise Kane. The second error is that Partey is not strong enough in a tackle with Kane, which then allows Kane to release Son, which is where we see the third error in a 2-second sequence as Bellerin gets drawn towards the ball, when instead he should have seen Son's run and dropped back in this deeper area. Instead he moves in field into a completely useless position, which allows Son to run off of him, and then Kane finds him with a trademark reverse pass. From here it's all about Son, who dips inside and releases an incredible curling strike to give Mourinho's side the lead from a trademark Tottenham counter-attack. I thought out of possession that Arsenal looked completely uncoordinated and the system played into Tottenham's hands. The backline sat incredibly deep, which I imagine was instructed in order to negate the possibility of Son or Bergwijn making runs in behind that back line. However, all this meant was that Arsenal's system became disjointed. The front three seemed to want to apply pressure to Tottenham's centre-backs and deep-lying midfielders, which created a massive vertical distance between Arsenal's front and back lines, leaving Partey and Xhaka the job of covering that massive space in central midfield, which inevitably would lead to massive spaces opening up either side of them and in behind them. This problem was exacerbated further when Tottenham counter-attacked, as Xhaka and Partey weren't playing as a holding double pivot. which meant that when Tottenham won the ball back in their defensive third, one vertically direct pass into a player behind the Arsenal midfield, which was usually Lo Celso or Son, would then allow Tottenham to immediately transition the attack into Arsenal's defensive third in a split second. The second Tottenham goal showcased this perfectly. Partey went off temporarily after receiving treatment, and Xhaka nor any of the other Arsenal players took the initiative and held their position in central midfield, with their other central midfielder off the pitch. This meant that when Aurier's pass went into Lo Celso, he practically had half the field to run into, carving through the Arsenal defensive system like a hot knife through butter and moving the ball into the Arsenal defensive third. Lo Celso carries the ball forward, and in this situation, Holding and Gabriel, the two centre-backs, are truly fucked as there's 4 Tottenham attackers running at the 2 centre-backs. The ball goes into Son, who almost telepathically knows Kane's run around him is coming, from where he releases the pass at the exact right time with the right weight on the pass, from where Harry Kane smashes the ball in off the crossbar past Leno, making it 2-0. After Tottenham went 2 up, it seemed that Mourinho's side had the game exactly how they wanted it. They could sit incredibly deep, closing up the spaces in between the lines, and draw Arsenal onto them by giving their deep line players space to move the ball forward, which whilst would put Tottenham under pressure in their defensive third, the payoff was that when Tottenham won the ball back there was greater space for them than to exploit. A good analogy would be a fighter who is trying to draw his opponent onto him, allowing him to get looser and looser with the punches he's throwing, before he eventually overextends, leaves himself wide open for a knockout strike, which we saw perfectly executed with Kane's goal. In the second half, the game followed a similar pattern to the one that it did in the first. However, Tottenham became even more conservative with their defensive shape. Son and Bergwijn were tracking the runs of the wingbacks even more diligently, often dropping back to create a back 5 or back 6 at times, which created a game of attack v defence inside Tottenham's half. Arsenal couldn't create anything of substance apart from when Tierney or Saka were able to put in a deep cross into the box, but it was just playing into the hands of Dyer and Alderweireld. I thought that the main problem was that Arsenal's transition of play was far too slow. They needed to play quick vertical passes into players between the lines as soon as there was a turnover in their half. Instead, they often preferred to establish solid possession with safer passes. However, this just allowed Tottenham to drop back into their incredibly deep and narrow shape, and the space that was between the lines was then closed up, which left Ceballos and Xhaka just circulating the ball from side to side in front of Kane and Lo Celso with very little penetration at all. I do think that Tottenham's game plan of sitting deep and inviting pressure, while it did work in this game and has been successful this season, is not sustainable in the long run, as in many games being this penned in just allows the opposition more opportunities to create in your defensive third, and it only takes a moment of attacking brilliance or a positional mistake or a mistimed tackle in the box, which are a lot more probable if you are defending more often, to completely swing the game and make this type of system seem more like a failed attempt at parking the bus. Tottenham managed to stranglehold the game into submission and see out the victory. To me, this game was quite weird, as both sides defended incredibly deep and seemed to invite unnecessary pressure from a defensive perspective. The difference was that whilst Arteta's methodical possession game simply played into Tottenham's hands and allowed them to get back into shape and close off the space, Mourinho's quick transition in direct attacking style worked perfectly in exploiting the space in the Arsenal midfield, and it was from here where Tottenham got both of their goals. So thank you for watching. I may do a video in the future analysing the exact problems with Arteta's Arsenal system, so if you want to see that, make sure you give the video a like, subscribe to the channel and share the video if possible. Also check out some of my other analysis videos like Tottenham's 6-1 win over Manchester United and Arteta versus Guardiola, which will all be linked in the description below.